is no kind of framework, if you will, that will help us figure out like, okay, why am I attracted to this person? Why is this person a good fit for me? Like, I think those things just kind of evolve over time. So whatever, like, for example, with me, what I found attractive in my 20s is completely different from what I find attractive at this like stage of my life. And I'm sure when I turn like 40, 50 and on up, it's going to be totally different. So again, very interesting conversation, and I'm super like happy to be here and have this, but I'm also like, it's just a fun conversation. I don't really look into it. It's kind of like astrology for me. Like, I love astrology, right? But I mean, is it real? I don't know, maybe. So that's how I kind of approach these dating and relationship conversations.
Okay, so I would offer. I'm completely surprised at that assessment. I'm going to offer that I personally think there's bias here based on what you just said. You approach these conversations this way, and the reason I'm saying, yeah, which is a great dialogue. Again, I don't want people on here just thinking the same thing. However, this particular thing, I'm completely shocked at that's what you receive from it, because what I appreciate about when scientists introduce information versus when most of us we're information gatherers. Like, we'll use the word, like myself, I'm an information gatherer, but we'll say we researched it and we're researchers, far from being an actual researcher, right? So what I always appreciate, because it was Dr. Buss was the he was the, just to get some clarification here, Dr. Buss was the evolutionary psychologist, and then the actual Huberman, he's a neuroscientist. Right. So what I appreciated very much about the presentation of the information was that they were absolutely distinctive when something they were saying was database and when it was not, which typically the average person does not do. And so they were walking us through that which was data-based. And even when you're saying someone was from the 90s, it was mentioned it's been peer reviewed since that time, and they revisited this, because the study, just to get some clarification for those out there listening, we're going to talk about, and we're going to play a clip so that y'all really understand exactly what we're talking about. But I just wanted to set this baseline because I was shocked that was your viewpoint of this actual scientific data, because what I've always said, just in general about conversations, when whatever the most comprehensive data is, and I always like to be real clear about this, whatever the most comprehensive data is not reality. However, it can point to trends that you can sometimes make informed decisions on. And so when you label the most informed data out there as flimsy, then there's nothing to go on. And I'm just highlighting that because I saw him distinctly saying, this is database. No, when he said, I don't know. So when you lead with, I don't know, he's letting you know this is not data back. And then in one time, he even actually used the words, and we're going to play a clip right after this. He actually used the word about the polyamory stuff. He says, not enough data. Here's an informed speculation. Like, that's not something the average person is saying. A scientist is being very clear to just say, based on what I think, here's what I think. So he's not presenting that as a data back, but he's just answering the question, because he made it clear the guy asked the question and he says, this is an informed speculation based on it's not my area. So he's just saying, well, since you asked me, here's my opinion. So that's what doesn't happen in general conversation. People like to present. Go ahead.
Sorry, I want to cut in really quickly. So yeah, I think that is what happens in general conversation, right? When I ask somebody for their opinion or what are their thoughts about any given topic, I'm already assuming that they're speaking from their own lived experience. Like, I'm not assuming that they're speaking from any other experience but their own, unless they tell me otherwise. So
let me get clarity. I didn't mean that. What I meant is the average person doesn't distinguish if they bring in their research, their gathering of information. Most people try to present it and don't make a distinction of, here's what I'm saying that's data back and here's what's not. That's a distinction that doesn't typically happen in the average conversation. So because the Dr. Bass throughout the 2 hours constantly kept distinguishing, here's what's data back, here's what's speculation. And when he said, I don't know, it was to say there's no data. So that's to me that matters if we're going to call the actual data back stuff flimsy, because he tried to say here's when it's not,
Oh, I see what you're
here's
saying.
when we
Okay.
don't know. And so if we're going to have dialogue about the data back part, but we've already labeled it flimsy, was just eye-opening to me that that's how you saw the video.
Mm-hmm.